Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming and joining us. This is Brighton Fringe Academy for my first Fringe. We are going to be having a session with our lovely panellists, talking about all things Brighton Fringe and their experiences. We're also going to be recording this and it's going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel and our website. So anybody who's not with us at the moment will be able to see this forevermore, I think, pretty much on our website. We've got all of our past Fringe Academies uploaded there as well. So if there's any topics that you want to cover in more detail, you can find all sorts of things on our website there. First of all, I'm going to start by introducing the Artist Services team. My name is Sarah French. I am the Artists and Venues Coordinator for Brighton Fringe. We've also got...
Hi everyone, I'm Laura and I'm the Artist and Venue Services Manager.
And in the corner...
Hello, I'm Megan, I'm the Artist and Venue Services Assistant.
And that is the entire Artist and Venue Services team for Brighton Fringe.
That's us.
We are quite a small team at Brighton Fringe, but we are very friendly and nice. If you do choose to contact us, it will always be myself, Laura or Megan who is on the end of the phone or the email. Hopefully you will see through this session that we're very approachable, so there's no question too big or too small. And if we don't know the answer, we will always endeavour to find somebody who does know the answer for you. We're also joined today by a fantastic panel of award-winning artists. We've got with us Aiden Becks, who this year won the Spirit of the Fringe Award for being so generally wonderful and helpful and supportive to all of our artists and to us as a team. We've got Katie Reddin-Clancy, whose show Endgame won the Best New Show. And we've got Darryl Carrington, whose show Out of the Box won Best Family Friendly Award. So a fantastic, knowledgeable group of people. I did ask when I put this panel together if each of you wanted to just say a few words about your experience with Brighton Fringe. So we'll start off doing that and then we'll move into some questions. I start with you, Aiden.
Yeah, so I've been watching Brighton Fringe for many years, but I've been participating since about 2018, maybe 2018. And I'm now a trustee on the board as well. So yeah, no, I'm Team Brighton Fringe all the way. Love it. You've gone quiet.
Oh, sorry, my colleague put me on mute without telling me. I'm back. Katie, would you like to tell us about your experience, your background?
Hi, I'm Katie Reddin-Clancy. I'm a writer-performer and I've done 2 shows at Brighton Fringe. One was Grace, which was nominated for Best New Play, and then I did recently Endgame. And it's my home Fringe, so it's very dear to my heart. And I've seen some incredible things here, which really inspired me to go for it before I did my show Grace. So yeah, it's amazing to be here.
And when did you do Grace, Katie? Because this wasn't your first Fringe this year, was it? But you'd had a bit of a
so I did.
Before.
2018 was my my second show, which was called Grace, which I did in Brighton Fringe. My first show was called Kate Middleton Show Queen, which I did in 2013, but I only did that in Australia because I was living there.
Lovely, thank you very much. And Darryl, this was your first Fringe, wasn't it? Your first Brighton Fringe.
It was, well, yes, yeah. Well, I'd done 2 days the year before.
Oh, had you?
Yeah, with the Fool's Paradise folks. So I did do Out the Box, and it was kind of like a little sort of test to see how it'd go. And obviously I enjoyed it, so I brought it back this year.
Came back, so that's good.
Yeah, Sally. And this year I was with the Revel Pucks up in the circus tents up near the up in the park. It was lovely.
Fantastic. Aiden, which venue were you with?
I was with Laughing Horse again this year, so I did Carolina Brunswick through Laughing Horse with I think all of my shows. Yeah.
And Katie, you were at Ironworks, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So we've got different versions, different perspectives on venues as well, if anyone's got particular questions about that. Thank you to our lovely panel for being here. We really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to start with a few questions that are based largely on questions that artists have asked us previously, things that they've said would be helpful. But if there's anything that people want to ask during the session, please do just pop it in the chat and we'll we'll ask more questions as we go along. So I'm going to start by asking, who shall we ask? Darryl, I'm going to ask you, I think let's start with you. What advice would you give to somebody taking part in Brighton Fringe for the first time then? Or what do you wish you'd known before you took part?
So I think the best advice, I reckon, probably just spend a bit of time maybe going and visiting it. Do you know what I mean? So coming down like the year before, if you're kind of planning on doing it, or because the festival does kind of run for such a sort of a long period of time. If you're able, it's probably tricky to visit and book it in still in the sort of same year. But it's kind of what I advise anyone with any, if you want to go and do a stand-up show, so go check out the show or a cabaret, go and see it, go see what the vibe is, see if it's something you want to be a part of. And kind of get to know the teams. That's the kind of, most important thing, like the artist hubs and stuff that there are, the fringes all over the world are generally amazing. And they are like real people are in there, because I think sometimes it can feel a little bit, you're on this, especially, neurodiversity, sort of like there's lots of form filling and it's lots of things, and it all feels quite like robotic and like installments and cuts and fees and all this. It can all feel a little bit unartistic, shall we say. Do you know what I mean? Kind of feels kind of like the opposite. But then actually, going into the hub, and I was very lucky to bump into Sarah in the artist hub, and it really, it was great, and it kind of like really helped me realise sort of why I was there, and to sort of I don't know. So that's probably my sort of big advice, and I think knowing what you want to get out of it as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of different things. So for me, because I've been touring my show at Outdoor Arts Festivals for the last 3 years, so I know the shows works and it's solid, and the material's good. But for me, it was trying to gain a new audience sort of indoors, so I'd be able to tour outside of the sort of outdoor arts sort of season, which is in the summertime. So I wanted to be able to start touring indoors. So it was kind of like a place to start doing that. And then with Edinburgh, it's just like, right, I want press, because ironically, I won an award before I'd had a review. So it's quite silly. So I think that'll be my good places to start.
I think that's really such sensible advice, that idea of knowing what you want to get out of it, because it's different for different people. So if it's just to do a fringe show because I want to say that I've done a fringe show, or if it's to reach new audiences, or whatever reason it might be, if it's to make money, we can chat about that. But, there's lots of different reasons that you might want to do a fringe show. And, the more that we know as a team about what your motivations are, the more we can support you to try and enable that to be a success for you, because success is going to look different for different people. Katie, anything that you would add? Is there anything that you wish you'd known before you took part for the first time, or anything that was different this time around that you wish you had, or that you'd like to share with people trying it for the first time?
For me, the most important thing is always the script and the show. So for me, it's the first time I did it, I think if I'd done some previews, that would have been helpful before I actually opened with press. That to me feels really valuable, because then you have got all your stumbling over what's going to go on, or thinking, oh, actually that bit doesn't work. So I remember once reading someone's advice, some comedians, and they said never cancel your previews, and I did on my first show, and I realized why you don't cancel your previews, because you learn so much in testing in front of an audience that aren't necessarily going to be sort of judging you, as and your opening night you can have press in, so you don't want to be sort of just trialing things out when you are opening basically at a Fringe festival, because hopefully your marketing will have done the job that you've spent the money on. Your poster's been brilliant and really attractive and professionally done with a professional photographer, professional graphic designer, so it looks real quality. And then you've hopefully done a really good trailer, and you've spent money on that, and then you've spent money on social media marketing. So you've done or you're getting your press in either by hiring a press, or you've done it yourself. So that's a lot of effort that you then want all of that, actually knowing that your show is as strong as you can make it. So making sure that show is as tight as you can make it, and is really saying what you want it to say. And because these are going to go into online reviews that you can never take down, so it's it's worth making sure that it's the best quality that you can make it.
Yeah, thank you. Who have we not spoken to? Aiden, anything that you would add?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to just say Katie's trailer for Endgame is absolutely, if you've not seen it, go to her Instagram and see that trailer. It is the perfect example of a trailer. Like, amazing. For me, it's more about the social aspect. I just think don't do it alone. Make contacts before you get here, join Facebook groups, there's loads of resources online, go to network events, and don't go through the whole month alone. Just like make contacts and have a laugh and do the social side of it as well. There's a whole social aspect to it that is kind of not the stress of running a show. You can still wind down and do stuff with others.
Yeah, I think that's such a valid point, because a lot of our artists are from the local area, but plenty aren't, and are either coming from different parts of the country, but are coming from other parts of the world. And if you're coming alone, it can be an incredibly daunting experience. I mean, it's worth saying that Brighton Fringe is different from, like, a lot of people just think of Edinburgh in the same bracket when they think Fringe festivals. We're very, very different from Edinburgh. We're much smaller. Usually artists will come for just a few days rather than for the full month. So it's not quite as intensive. So I would hope that you do have the opportunity to enjoy the social side a little bit more, but you do have to put the effort in to, as you said, Aiden, taking advantage of those opportunities where they're there, networking events and whatever else it might be. So Aiden, for example, runs a WhatsApp group, don't you, for other comedians, and taking advantage where those opportunities are there. Oh, for anyone. Yeah.
Any performers at Brighton Fringe. Basically, I set it up 2 years ago. There was like 20 odd members. There's about 70 now. I don't particularly run it. Members can invite new people. It just organically is growing. And throughout the year, people have been chatting about stuff, and, you know, it's there as a resource and a support and for people to use. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a great resource. And we run Fringe academies like this, but in person during Fringe as well. And we run networking events that are just sort of drop-in sessions. And obviously the Artist Hub is we don't know exactly where it's going to be this year, but it'll be in a public space, and it's very open to just drop in for artists. But I think if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, it can feel quite lonely and overwhelming. So I think that's a really, really valid point about taking advantage of those opportunities and collaborating where you can and making new connections, even if it's just to go, oh, it's been quite hard today, to share that. Even if it's just that much, not to feel alone, can be really, really valuable. Thank you very much. Did anybody want to add any more to that particular bit before we move on? Great, okay. So obviously Brighton Fringe takes place in May this year. It's actually the whole of May, very neatly. It's going to be from the 1st of May to the 31st of May, which I find very pleasing, because sometimes it pops into June and I'm like, oh, it should be done by now. So it's quite a long time until May. We opened for registrations last Thursday. I will say I don't remember it being this busy this quickly before. So we've already had 131 registrations, I think, in under a week, which feels a lot to me. But it's great to see people being so early, but there will be plenty of people who have left it until the very last minute, because that's just the nature of Fringe. We do have deadlines throughout the year, so we will have a brochure, and the brochure deadline is the 11th of February. So I would encourage people to be registered before the 11th of February so that you can be in the brochure. But really, that's our only kind of hard and fast deadline for, you know, the marketing materials. We do have an early bird deadline as well for registration fee discounts, but 11th of February is the big deadline. But even that, I think it's a tendency to feel quite a long way off. But I know from my own past being an artist that you throw all of your time and energy into the show, and sometimes you forget that there's all these other bits and pieces that you've got to get all your ducks in a row before May. So I just wanted to ask each of you how how you organise your time, really. What do artists need to consider before May? How should they be using the time between now and when Fringe starts? Also bearing in mind that some of you may well have plenty of other shows between now and May, and for some people, May might be the big deadline that they're working towards. If I can start with you, Katie. How do you organise your time? How would you be using this time now? You touched earlier when you were talking, you touched on some of your marketing. We'll talk about marketing in a little bit more depth later, but is that the main thing that you'd be working towards outside of the creation of your show?
So I would probably be working backwards. So
Yeah.
I would be looking at the dates that I wanted to perform. I always think it's amazing to try and do the beginning and the end of Brighton Fringe, so you can sort of arrive, get some press in, hammer the flyering and sell out at the end and make some money. I would then sort of work backwards and go, right, well, if that's when I want to open, when do I want to preview? Giving myself enough time to rewrite, not get on a plane and go somewhere day after the preview.
Yeah.
Not that I've done that. So yes, I would definitely suggest, sort of previewing the beginning of April, giving yourself time to rewrite and go, no, I want to re-rehearse that. Then it's sort of like, okay, well, looking at you normally, Brighton Fringe normally give a very helpful timeline about when you need to do things. And I just pull all that into one big document, one big timeline, and then obviously ask all the people that I'm working with, videographers, graphic designers, photographers, when do I need to work with a photographer to get the poster in order to hit the early bird deadline? So it's sort of like working back, when do I need to do everything? Bearing in mind, giving everyone like a fake deadline would be my top tip. So give your graphic designer a fake deadline.
Top tip. Yeah.
Give your videographer a fake deadline. So when they go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I've had this other thing. Everyone's chill. No problem. Of course you can hand it in next week. Yes. And so I'd be working backwards. And then once I've got all of that, my ducks in a row, I would then say, what do I have to prioritize now? And to be honest, now would be sort of the poster. The first thing for me is always the poster. But the real top tip that I had is you need to know your show before you do your poster. So many people think, oh my God, the deadline's coming up. I'll just do a headshot, or I'll just do a random one of me looking a bit funny. But it doesn't really encapsulate the show. Therefore, it's not really marketing is meant to attract the right people and repel the wrong people. So you really want to know your show and what it's all about in order to then give, I do an ideas deck or a pitch deck and give all the images and all the ideas visually, so that's all my bit, and then I give it to my photographer and I give it to my graphic designer, and then they do the magic on top of it. So it's a lot of collaboration going on, so for me, once I know that all the timeline of everything that I need to do, then it's like, right, poster first, but then it has to be script first, it has to be show first, because the worst thing you can ever do is write it and perform it at the same time, because that is your creativity is your right brain, and that needs time for your subconscious to go, oh well, what if you piece this idea and this together and make genius? But you can't do that in like, oh, what's my script? It just doesn't happen like that. So you need to sort of be thinking, you read one thing, or you go and see an art exhibition, or you go and see someone else's show, or that kind of thing, and then that's all feeding the well, as Julia Cameron would say. And then you're just sort of going for a walk, driving the car, in the shower, and you go, what about this? And then you're like, wow, that's magic. But that all needs time, and does not happen when you're panicking about, but how do I get bums on seats? How do I do my trailer? How do I, what is Eventatron? So all of that, that's all very left brain. And then you go, a budget, 20% break even, what? So all of that's a different part of your brain. So you want to allow the creativity and the sort of the inner child in you to play in the sandpit first. And then you go, okay, right, let's get on with the business side.
I'm just going to throw in for anyone who doesn't know that Eventatron is our online registration system. It's not actually ours, it is just the system that we use. So when you first start a registration to join Brighton Festival, or a whole bunch of other festivals actually use the same system, that's what we use, and that's where we'll ask you to input all of your information, all the information about you, all the information about your show. And it's also where we would ask you to connect to your venue. It is all online. it's reasonably intuitive, but we are here to help you with all of that. We're also here to help you identify a venue if you're not local to Brighton and you'd like some advice about any of that. That's literally the purpose of the artist team. So please don't feel intimidated by any of that. Just, give us a call or drop us an email. I'll pop all of the contact details at the end. And we'd be happy to support you with any of the sort of tech side of stuff if that's something that you feel you might struggle with a little bit. Thank you, Katie. That's really insightful. Thank you. Darryl, anything that you would add to that about using the time between now and May?
Yeah.
Between now and any festival deadline, really.
So I'm neurodiverse. I've got the old ADHD and dyslexia, and for years, what would kind of happen was I'm 40 now, I guess, for some context as well. So what would happen? I'd be like, "Oh, the Brighton Fringe, that looks like a cool thing," and then it would be like August. I'd be like, "Oh, I should have applied for that thing." So it kind of, so I'd kind of always just blow past like deadlines for literally by months. So I think what I really try and do now is just go, okay, I'm just going to do it. And just when you have that initial just thought of like, I think I want to apply for that thing. Just do it. Just apply for the thing, and then kind of sort of figure it out. I guess that's kind of my way. It's probably a bit more. I wish I listened to Katie's. I was like, oh my god, that's the dream. I would love. I actually just want to be mentored by Katie. That sounds so good.
Or we can get the advice from people like so that you can tell us what to do.
That's amazing. But for me, I think, how do I use the time? So it is. I'm kind of getting more and more used to this thing of it's almost like you're kind of working a year in advance. So, and what I try and do is I'll try and do a little bit of admin every day. So I try and do like a couple of hours every day to try and sort of keep on top of it. And because otherwise for me, if it all builds up, then it kind of gets a bit much. So I'm constantly trying to sort of keep on top of like the little bits of the task, because it is astonishing. Like, I'm a clown. Like I throw a toothbrush into a cup on my head. Like I make
really
a little.
Well. You do it really well.
Thank you. No, it's great. Award-winning. No, but it's the. But it's silly, the stuff that I do. But the amount of time that I have to spend doing admin is astonishing, and it astonishes people. And I'm like, I never thought I'd have to do so much paperwork to be an idiot, full-time idiot. So which is great, and I love it. So I guess that's one of the things. And obviously, the way that kind of Katie broke it down is that there is a lot of admin to do. Do you know what I mean? So it is kind of like that, being able to break it down into either being able to work it backwards, like Katie's saying, of like myself kind of doing little bits, and you kind of like start to learn to feel which bits are really urgent, because at first it's like, oh, it's an email from this thing and there's that and there's, oh, my truth, how do I do all these things? You go, oh yeah, but that can, like, I can take a week to reply to that, that's fine. Or do you know what I mean? You kind of start to learn which bits you kind of need to sort of focus on more, and just kind of, and I think it's just that. It's that thing of just sort of being playful with it all and enjoying. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, I love what I do on stage so much that it's worth all of this work. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's kind of something to kind of remember when you're going through all this process. It's just like, oh no, I'm doing all this because it's what I love doing. Do you know what I mean? I kind of, when you sort of, the stress is all happening, but then when you're actually there doing the show and you're doing what you love, it is, it's amazing. That's my take.
No, that's lovely. It's nice to remember that I think it's good to have in mind that you do it because you love it. I think it's really important. And I think it's worth saying that we all love it as well. Like, I don't think anybody is doing it for any kind of commercial reason particularly. We're doing it because we love Fringe. We're passionate about Fringe, and we're passionate about artists having a successful, positive, enjoyable experience at Fringe. We really want that. We want people to come and love it and have a really enjoyable time. So if you are struggling with any of those aspects, then again, just remember that we are here, and that is literally our job, is to support you, so that it doesn't take all the joy out of it by the time you've got here.
One little thing to add, actually, one thing that has really helped is having ADHD or being neurodiverse is getting access to work. So I do get support from Access to Work. So I do have a sort of personal assistant or a virtual assistant that can help. That does help me with all of this stuff. So, and that's something you can apply for through. It's a government thing. So it's. No, I'm pointing to links. There's no links, but maybe I can pop a link in.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because then that can really help, and they can really help to be able to sort of it's changed my life. I've had that for like the last year or so, and it's been incredible. So yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. We'll pick up on that on another Fringe Academy, actually, because I'm sure there'll be other people in that same position as you who maybe haven't explored that as an option yet, who'd find that really helpful. Thank you for mentioning that. I've written it down. The other thing I was just going to say, you both touched on about working backwards and being aware of deadlines and things. So we have an artist pack that is all up to date with all of the dates and deadlines for working towards Brighton Fringe 2026. That's now live up on the website. So there's lots and lots of data in it, and it's not to be to make you feel overwhelmed or stressed about it. It's just so that you can think about it all in advance. And as you were saying, Katie, that's not happening until then, so I don't have to worry about it yet. Let's just work in little chunks, in little steps as we go along, and things that might be helpful to be aware of, things like the early bird deadline, the print deadline, those kind of things. When do I need to start worrying about having my insurance in place? Oh, actually not for ages. When do I need to have to worry about PRS and music usage and that stuff? Actually not for ages. The other thing worth saying actually is about Eventtron. You can have your registration all finalised and all done in Eventtron, and you can still be editing that whenever you want. So right up until the print deadline, you can really edit anything in Eventtron. And it's there to be edited. So you can get all your information and you can change it as you go along if you want to. If you want to change images, if you want to change parts of your event listing, if you want to add in details as you have them, there's nothing to stop you from getting your registration started, if that's helpful to then have all of that information in one place and get things like your venue booked in and your dates and things like that. Aiden, anything that you would like to add about how you plan your time?
Yeah, so on the run up to Fringe, obviously look at the bursaries that you can apply for.
Great point, yes.
I run a bursary called Everyone Loves an Underdog, which is for people who are new to Fringe or don't have much experience in Fringe and not professionally trained. So it's supporting people who are pretty much new to it and want to give it a crack and that kind of thing. So look at there's loads of bursaries. Have a look at the bursaries and apply for them all. Just get in there. And contacts, again, make contact with people. If you can get down to Brighton beforehand, pop down, check your venue out, just have a nosy around the town, get a feel for the place, great. But make contacts, and especially in comedy, if you want to secure any guest spots in other people's shows so you can bounce off one another to promote your show at their show, buddy up flying at other people's shows, even buddying up for marketing so that you can each take half a side of a flyer and give those out. Just kind of sow seeds in advance so that you've got a bit of backup, make it a cheaper Fringe with things like marketing and stuff, and easy, cheap promotions by being in each of the shows. So yeah.
There's some great points in there, but I would like to unpick a little bit further. So bursaries, I can't believe I've not mentioned it yet. Thank you for reminding me. So we have lots and lots of bursaries available for anyone to apply for. We've got, I'm just trying to think, I think we've got about 15 live at the moment, but more will be added. And the closing date for all of them, I believe, is the 28th. Just keep looking over here. 28th of January. 28th of January. So plenty of time if you want to start looking now to see what you're eligible for and take your time applying. But there's loads and loads and loads of different categories, everything from bursaries for low-income artists to musical theatre to cabaret and variety to what else have we got? LGBTQ performances, sustainability, community, neurodivergence. Yeah, loads and loads of different things. and they may vary in what they're able to offer, but I'm pretty sure that they all offer a free registration. And then there may be other things on top of that, like mentoring opportunities, financial support, all sorts of different things. So it's really worth having a look. You can, it's all up on our website. If you go into the artists section of the website, there's a whole section on bursaries in there. Any questions, of course, obviously welcome to get in touch with us. Same for Fringe Academies. So like this one, we record, our Fringe Academies, I should say, are always free. They are always online unless they're happening in Fringe itself. And we always record them. So all of our past Fringe Academies are on a dedicated Fringe Academy page on the website. And you can have a little scroll through there and see all of the topics that we've discussed in more detail before. There's, again, loads of different things: how to make a good trailer, how to market your event, how to crowdfund, loads of different things you have to have a little look through. And we've got others planned for this year as well. So in a few weeks' time, we're doing an introduction to the box office, so everything that you need to know from a box office perspective. Then we'll be doing some just after Christmas around marketing. We'll be hosting a press panel. So we try to think about all the different things that are relevant to artists and how we can make that information accessible. And if for any reason you can't attend them in person, you are obviously, they're there to just peruse at your leisure on the internet. The other thing I wanted to pick up that you mentioned, Aiden, and we will talk a little bit more about it when we talk about marketing, but collaboration with other artists is so valuable and important, not just, I think, as a solo performer, but I think it's such a great opportunity to meet other people, to learn about other people, to, as you said, everything from sort of exit flyering other people's shows to sharing costs, to just, moral support. It's one of my absolute favourite things to see in Fringe is the relationships that develop between different artists and how that supports them in growing creatively and in their shows growing. And then seeing sometimes, you see artists then come back and they're running a show with another artist for the first time, and they're doing a joint show, and that's so beautiful to see how that creative experience can grow as a result of just a first conversation that happened at a networking event or something like that. Is really, really lovely. So thank you for mentioning that. Anyone want to add anything else there, or shall we move on to the next question?
I think also just getting in touch with your venues early on is a good idea, because they all, you can apply through Eventatron. You can sort of find out and research Eventatron. You say how many people, whether you want a 40-seater, 90-seater, whatever, and then you say what kind of space you want, and it then shows you all the options, which is really helpful. And then it's worth just emailing the venues as soon as you sort of know that you definitely want to do it, because they will start making a list quite early doors. They don't wait until registrations have closed to sort of make their plan. They sort of, I think, when they get people they like and they want, they'll program as they go. So it's just worth not leaving it to the last minute. Getting in as pretty much, I would start having conversations with venues now, really. Just getting in as soon as you can would be, a top tip. And also thinking about how else you can make some money. Merch is actually something that can double your ticket price. So if you're thinking you would do your first Fringe, and I think the average is about £10 or whatever it is, then you can sell something else for about £10, and then you're doubling what you could earn from someone. So badges, everyone loves a badge, which you're probably only getting £1 or £2 from, but if everyone bought one, that's a lot of money. But I was selling like a calendar from one of my characters who was just very eccentric and certainly thought she deserved a calendar. But I was surprised because the joke was it was the same picture. She was the same picture in all of them, but just with a different background. But she thought it was terribly fabulous. And even though she died, she was still trying to shift them. So I will be selling them on my Instagram should you want one, because it's nearly the end of 2025 and you can use it. This is me channeling her. So it's amazing when people are actually buying my calendar, and if you've got the merch, trying to build it into the show, because my last line was, well, Joni really does have her calendar, and sometimes it'd be the biggest laugh of the show, and I'm like, what? And actually then they would come up to me and want to buy the calendar, and I was selling it for $25 over in Australia, which is what, 25, that's about £12.50, and I was selling it for £10 here. And then, people are just chucking cash at you, which is a lovely thing to happen. But also, if you just get a sum up machine, which is, you can then have you've probably seen them in shops, but people can just tap, their card, and you're just getting tenors here, there, and everywhere, which is a lovely feeling. So yeah, I'd highly recommend thinking about what you could sell. I mean, obviously, if it's your first Fringe, you might not be thinking about your play script yet. But people have self-published play scripts, but you might want to wait until you're, further down the line with that show or with your shows before you're publishing. But yeah, thinking about how else you can earn money. And the other thing is starting Instagram early. So the last thing you want to be doing is, a couple of weeks out going, oh yeah, social media. So you want to be sort of starting now with your content pillars and working out, right, well, I'm going to do behind the scenes stuff. So I'm going to be literally like, this is me. This is an empty whiteboard. I've no idea what my show is. How am I going to work this out? This is me on a walk doing, it's all that sort of getting natural with people actually really enjoy watching that. And then there's so much more committed when you go, surprise, flash sale, Brighton Fringe, we're on sale. Then, you start to get more, you've already done a load of work before you're actually sort of ready to sell. And actually, when I've been recently seeing a load of old friends that I haven't seen for ages, and the first thing they've all gone to me is like, oh my God, I can't wait to see Endgame. You've been doing so much on social media. And I'm like, well, you could have liked the odd post, or I've not seen any of these people actually liking or hearting or commenting, but they've just been stalking me for like a year. And everyone I've had a conversation with recently is just like, oh my God, I love all your stuff on social media. And I'm like, well, why didn't you heart it and give me, when I was having a tough day, just a little heart would have been nice. So don't think that just because you're not getting an extraordinary amount of likes or shares, or, you're not breaking the internet, don't think that actually you're not, all these people aren't then thinking, oh great, well, when you come to a venue near me, if they're up north or whatever it is, they'll come and see your show. So start all that really early.
Thank you. That's really great advice. And I hope friends watch this back and that they learn that they need to be more engaged.
Heart.
I agree. Subscribe. I just wanted to touch on what you mentioned about venues, just to say that, again, we appreciate that not everybody is local to Brighton. So if it is tricky for you to come to Brighton in advance, or if you're not familiar with the venues, you're very, very welcome to get in touch with us and give us some information about your show. We have a wide variety of venues. I think we had somewhere in the range of about 100 and something venues last year. About 120 venues, and they range hugely from like proper, well-established theatres with their own front of house and bar and everything, right down to people's living rooms and everything in between, basement rooms in pubs or long-established comedy venues or whatever they might be. And obviously they vary in what genres will work best in those places, in the kind of the capacity that they can offer, in the tech that they can offer, in the marketing packages that they can offer, and also in how much they might cost. So if you've got any questions about that, or you're looking for any support in trying to work out what venue might suit your show best, then you're very welcome to get in touch with the artist services team. Give us some details about what you're looking for, and we'd be really, really happy to try and give you some starters for 10 to think about different venues that might work well for your show. It touches on a little bit what you were saying, Katie, about knowing your audience. Who do you want at your show, and where are you going to find them? Who are the people who are frequenting those venues anyway to make your life easier? And I think a big part of it is being in the right place and making sure that it's going to work for you. The last thing you want to do is turn up in a venue on the 1st of May and realise that it doesn't have a dressing room for your needs, or it doesn't have a projector, which is integral to your show, or whatever it might be. So do your research. You can find all of the venues in the venue finder on Eventatron, but you're also very welcome to go through us if that would be helpful.
Can I just add there, when you're mentioning about venues, when you're doing your social media, when you're doing your Instagram reels, reels actually go a lot further than posts or stories. Stories normally is just talking to your actual network. Reels actually go out further. it's always worth inviting your venue once you've confirmed them as a collaborator, which is just a little button somewhere down, because it's great content for them, because you're making content then for them. And what all invite collaborator means is it will come up in their inbox of Katie Reddin-Clancy has shared, a trailer. Would you like to publish it? And all they do is accept, and then it immediately goes on their feed. So it's like if you, and also some Fringe festivals have been very supportive as well with things like this. So if, because it's helping them generate a lot of content. So if you're early doors and you're getting your trailer out and you're getting bits and bobs, if they like it, they will also put it on their feed. So you're then double marketing, which is really helpful.
Great tip. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to a big question now, which is how do you actually know when you're ready to take part in a Fringe festival, and how do you deal with imposter syndrome if you suffer with imposter syndrome? Maybe you don't. I'm going to start with you, Aiden. When do you know that you're ready? When did you know you were ready to take on a Fringe festival, and what made you do it for the first time?
Well, the first time, I only got into performing in my 40s anyway, so it was a very late thing for me anyway. I had a bit of an existential crisis, and I was doing spoken word. So I did a performance workshop with someone, and we just said, "Oh, fuck it, shall we just do Brighton Fringe?" And we did. We had a really good time, and yeah, I don't. It's Brighton. No one you're not held to standards that. Like, it's just so accepting. It's a lovely vibe. It's very much like, I've seen some really professional stuff. I've seen some really kind of thrown together stuff. And it's all a good vibe. It's all a good thing. So I don't think people need to worry about it. I think just kind of come along, have a crack, see what happens. If people turn up, they'll either like it or they won't. Not everyone's going to love your stuff. You're not going to please everyone. So, if you find it funny or if you find it entertaining yourself, then do it. And there'll be someone else in the world that also finds it funny and entertaining, and they will find you eventually. There you go.
I think that's lovely advice. I think that's Fringe in a nutshell, really, is there's something for everybody. And exactly that. If you think it's worth doing, somebody out there will like it. And I think that's one of the lovely things about Brighton, is that I think it is quite I was going to say unique. I don't know if it's unique, but it's certainly a very welcoming audience. They're an audience who are quite forgiving, quite up for a giggle, quite up for experimentation and people being creative, quite up for something a little bit out of the ordinary. And they're expecting that. They're reasonably unshockable, I would say. So it's quite a good place to be experimental and be creative and try something new without too much risk of that coming back to bite you. That's not to say that there isn't a lot of traditional content as well, and very, very professional performances. But if you are thinking, well, I've never done this before and maybe I'm not quite at the standard that I want to do, we have an awful lot of work in progresses, or an awful lot of people who will come to Brighton on the way to maybe going up to Edinburgh or whatever it might be to try out new stuff. And our audiences on the whole are expecting that. They're very open to that. So it is a lovely place to feel like you maybe don't have it quite polished yet, but you're working towards something. There's something special there. I think the audiences are really open to that. Darryl, anything that you'd like to add about when you knew you were ready to do Fringe for the first time or dealing with imposter syndrome?
Yeah. So I think kind of like, just sort of drop in, kind of like whatever sort of level you're kind of at, like, so for me, I probably did my first Fringe maybe 12 years ago, maybe a bit more, but because I was in a circus kind of situation. I was a circus performer originally. So we kind of do like street shows or things like that up in Edinburgh. And, I used to go to Edinburgh without anything, and I'd just kind of like build a show on the street. Do you know what I mean? And it was, and for me, it was, I never dreamed I'd ever end up being in like the venues would be like one of the real life people. Do you know what I mean? So I think even now I still feel like oh, what am I doing here? I'm one of the dirty street boys. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing in a venue with lights and stuff? But so yeah, I think just kind of. Yeah, I think just go for it. I think if it's something you felt that you always wanted to do, I think there's no time like the present. Do you know what I mean? Like really, like you can't. In a way, you've just kind of got nothing to lose. And I think it's a lovely thing that Aiden was saying is that like if you're doing what you love, I think you do find your audience. You know what I mean? And it might be two people. Your audience might be two people, but arguably, like some of the funnest shows I've ever done have been some of the ones where you've had basically no one in, and you've been like, "Oh, should we just make friends for an hour?" And they're like, "Yeah," So it's and it never stops. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been a performer for like the last over 21 years, and wherever it is you go, it's just these series of like impossible tasks. You go, oh, I'll get to that point, and I remember the first time I sold out some shows at Jackson's Lane last year. First time I did the show indoors and sold out a couple of shows, I was like, oh my God, I got to play Jackson, that wanting to play that space for years. And then on the drive home, just being like, oh God. And my partner's like, what? It's just like, it's just another gig, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You like build up this expectation of what it's going to be. And don't get me wrong, it's incredible and it's amazing. And, it is worth all the hard work. But it is just like, okay, all right, and again. And so it is. Sorry, that makes it sound really boring. just trudging through the shows because I just like it is, but it is just that thing of like you'll always feel like I always feel like an imposter wherever I am or whatever the sort of situation, and I think it's just that thing to realise that most other people feeling that as well, and obviously just in the artistic world it can kind of feel like everyone. Because there's lots of extroverts or lots of people like being really large and stuff, but really just it's all pretty colours to ward off predators. Do you know what I mean? So they're just everyone's scared little mockingbirds. What am I saying? This is why I don't talk in my shows. Like,
I think it will make sense to a lot of people. I think people will really relate to what you're saying. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you very much, Katie. Have you ever had to deal with imposter syndrome?
Yes, absolutely. I think every performer has it all the time, don't we? The fear is always, am I going to be booked again? Is this good enough? Am I good enough? So yes, I think it's just, if you are a performer, you definitely feel that. I knew when I wanted to do a show, when I was crying on the way home on the train, having seen other people's shows, getting so cross with myself that, and I was just going, why haven't you done it? Why? And also just being, if you see other shows and you're like, really? Like, I could do that. Like, that's not, you see something, particularly when people are doing work in progress, and they're walking with a script or something, you're like, I mean, I could walk around with a script and sort of say it's kind of this bit and kind of that bit. So the more you see new material nights for a comic or work in progress show, and you see the kind of journey of a show, it's not suddenly sort of, walk into a rehearsal room and then suddenly, hey presto, you're perfect. There are stages of shows, and I think if you go and see new material and go and see work in progress stuff and actually see how messy it can be, then it certainly breaks that down of like, oh right, yeah, well I can be messy. and so yeah, that really helped me, and just realizing that there's an exercise that you can do, which is, what's the 2-year-old you, what does the 2-year-old or 10-year-old you want you to do, and what's the 90-year-old you being cross with you for not doing? And for me, the 90-year-old would have just gone, why haven't you done this yet? And my grandmother always used to tell me that I should be doing this. So to be honest, if I didn't do it, there'd be sort of rattling chains at some point or something. I just wasn't really into that. So yeah, for me it was that, and also just knowing that it's being an actor originally, not finding loads of work that really chimed with me. As I was booked as a girlfriend or a wife or that kind of thing. But when you start writing your own work, it's it's your soul pouring out on stage, and you're like, especially when people start to come up to you afterwards going, oh my god, that was, I feel as if that was just meant for me, that show. And people in tears and laughing, and to make someone laugh and sort of break them away from all this chaos that we're in, and just give them a moment of escapism from it's such a gift and such a talent, and making them sort of reflect on their lives when you're talking about big themes and they come out. I always think you want to walk in the theatre one person and walk out another, having sort of really reflected and changed. And that is a huge gift. You're never going to go back and do someone else's work. Obviously if James Graham calls, I will be involved. But it's just, so it's all about finding your voice as an artist. And it's very hard to go back to, when you've not been creating your work. And I remember someone saying to me when I got really scared, they just said, Katie, if someone has a problem with your solo show, ask them to get back to you when they've created a solo show. And then talk to me about, things. So, and I think that's really, people can sit, and isn't it sort of Brené Brown that talks about that in her vulnerability TED talk, that, she completely had a meltdown after the vulnerability, and it all went crazy and everyone loved that talk, and she went really, oh my god, I've really spoken, I've really exposed myself. And she said she watched like every episode of Downton Abbey on the sofa and wouldn't get off. And then, as you do when a favorite series finishes and you're like, no, don't go, you start googling all the characters and the actors, and then she googled the Roosevelt talk, and that was all about being in the arena. And that's how her next show was, daring greatly and being in the arena, because you've got, as the artist, you are in the arena, your blood, sweat, tears, everything's in there. And if someone's going to go and criticize you who's not an artist, well, an artist would never criticize you, but if someone's going to go and criticize you, like, sure, talk to me when you've been in the arena too.
Yeah. Without getting too deep, that was really beautiful. Thank you. That was really moving. I think that thing about what would your 90-year-old say to your 90-year-old self say to you about, there's no regrets. Just give it a try. What's the worst thing that can happen? And we're all here to try and help you and support you to make whatever your version of success is, whatever that looks like for you, to try and make it successful. We talk a lot in our office about just wanting to bring joy to people. Like, it can be a bit of a bleak world at the moment. And a lot of what we're trying to do is just encourage people to forget about that for a little bit and just have, a bit of joy, a bit of colour, a bit of creativity, and bring something beautiful into the world. And I know it sounds a bit cringe, but it's so important and so special what we do. And there's a tendency to go, oh, it's just Fringe. But it is really, really special. And I just have nothing but the utmost admiration for our artists. I just think it's the most beautiful, special thing in the world. So thank you, our wonderful artists. And if you are in any doubt about doing it, just give it a try and be part of the special little family. And all of these wonderful people will help you and guide you to be part of something that is that beautiful, so that you don't have to die full of regrets. Anyway, moving on. Thank you, Katie. That was really lovely. Just quickly, because I know that we're running out of time, we have touched on this a couple of times as we've gone through, and there are other Fringe Academies that we're going to do dedicated specifically to marketing. But as it's something that's cropped up a number of times as we've been talking, has anybody got any top marketing tips that they'd like to share? Aiden, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure.
Only because one of the lasting images I have of last Fringe was you half naked in a sandwich board. Is that something you'd recommend to people?
Yes. I think be out there, be visible, be on the street, chat to people. That's the best way. Be out there flyering and just mingling and just be present. In a sandwich board, half naked.
Yeah, I mean, that's not obligatory. I would say it is a different vibe to Edinburgh. If anybody watching this has been up to Edinburgh Fringe, either as an artist or as a punter, obviously you can't avoid it. There's people flying everywhere. There's people on the streets performing everywhere. It's Brighton Fringe, although it's unbelievably, it's the third largest Fringe in the world. It's still much, much smaller than Edinburgh. So we do have people flying, we do have people busking on the streets, but it is much, much smaller. And we do talk a bit in the marketing Fringe Academies about thinking about budget and working out whether it's worth investing in, buying thousands of flyers versus thinking about some of the things you were saying, Katie, about using social media and that kind of stuff. I know, Aiden, what you did with that sandwich board was you had a massive QR code, didn't you, that people could scan?
Yeah, people could have a sign. They don't need to wear it as a board. They could just have a thing that people can scan. But also being out there flyering is great opportunity to chat to other people that are flyering. You meet people, you know, and you engage with your audience. You sell your show to the people that are going to come and see your show.
Yeah. And I'm just going to reiterate what you mentioned earlier about your, I know you've said this before in other Fringe Academies, but your double-sided flyer. I know one of your biggest
a blank side.
Yes.
I cannot stand it. A blank side of a flyer drives me mad. Buddy up with another artist, have half each, split them, both go flyering. You're halving the work, you're halving the costs. Yeah. It just makes sense. And it's eco-friendly. There you go.
And then thinking about where you're going to use those flyers. So exit flying other shows that are similar to yours, working with other artists, all of that kind of stuff. Where are you going to find the people who are going to not just put that flyer in a bin, but actually look at it and go, this looks like the kind of thing that I would really like to go to. Where are you going to find those people? Darryl, any top marketing tips before I let you go?
So one of my favourite ones, I think, myself up in Edinburgh and actually at Brighton as well, was doing so I've got my little dog Flippy in the show, and I think it's trying to find a way to sort of like sell the show or give people a hook of what the show's about. Because like, I'm sure Aiden looks gorgeous in that sandwich board, but like me and that sandwich board trying to sell a kid's show probably isn't quite appropriate. So, but what I found was, so I used to do a thing where I'd have a carrier bag and a remote controller, and I'd follow the carrier bag. So obviously the carrier bag's getting blown by the wind. But if someone laughed, I'd be like, "Oh, you get my sense of humour. Like, here's a fly," because it's very visual comedy, my show. But I found that it can kind of look a bit weird. Do you know what I mean? So like, if people get it, they really get it. But this year I tried having a little Flippy on a remote control car. So then he's on a remote control car with the flyers, and then parents like, "Oh, there's a little cute dog. Who's that widow with a carrier bag?" So yeah, and then you play the whole game of like kid trying to take it, and you're running away from them, and I mean, you can just it's kind of like Aiden saying, it's kind of like, I think it's really important to give people a little flavour of what the show is, what you're going to be kind of doing, and trying to find those places or people that are going to love what it is that you do. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things that I think it's taken me so long to learn, but it's like, either whether it's getting gigs or trying to invite people to the show, it's just like, it is, what our show is essentially a meal in a menu. Do you know what I mean? And your meal might not be suitable for a venue, or it might be, someone might be like, "Oh, I don't like avocado." But that's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, and I guess it's trying to understand what your meal is. And I think that's the thing, because even myself, I'm still like, one of the things I was asking at the end of the show was just like, it's better than it looks, isn't it? And people are like, yeah, it's way better than it looks. So I'm like, okay, I still need to like figure out how to sort of sell it. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's trying to find ways that like feel good for you. Because for myself, like I found like say with the Meta or the sort of paid adverts, like I don't really like them and I don't really trust it. And I'm just like, I'm putting 50 quid into this thing, and it seems to be going into the ether, and I don't know if that's a human clicking that or if it's a bot. So for me, I've kind of found that actually, and actually weirdly, I found boosting reels seem to have a better sort of thing. I don't know. I'm no marketing person, but I really enjoy doing extra spots with stuff, and and doing like live shows or people seeing it.
Great.
Because it sort of feels to me like it's it's what I do is quite weird, and it's like it doesn't necessarily come across great on. Sorry, it's award-winningly good. It's quite strange in that it's sorry, but it's a bit different. It's a bit it isn't something that necessarily looked like. I've found a way to capture it in a still image or in a video that really helps sort of sell what it is. But when people see it live, they go, "I really get that." So I've kind of gone, okay, I understand that my journey is going to be a bit longer and slower in terms of finding my audience, because I haven't found a way to communicate that yet. But I kind of like that, and it feels like, okay, well, because that's what feels nice to me. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's try everything, and and doing the little I used to worry about when you do a little interview and you'd be like, oh, I've said that thing wrong, or I've done that. It's just like, it doesn't matter, because each time it's just a rehearsal for the next one. You don't get an interview with the with the Independent straight away. You'll do Johnny's coffee blog and then Sammy's sandwich chat, and you do all these other ones, and you and they're really fun to do, and you're like, oh great, it's this thing, but then you always go, oh god, why did I say that? But you're like, oh, but it doesn't matter, because some people will see them, but people probably aren't going to not come to the show because of your coffee order. But then so yeah, sorry, I'm waffling on a bit there, but do what you like.
Yeah, that was
It
lovely.
was fun.
Yeah, no, it's all about being comfortable and not having to. There's lots of different ways to do it. Success looks different for different people, and what you're comfortable with will be different for different artists. And there's lots of different people out there you can find in different ways. So I think it's perfectly great advice. Hang on, Aiden's left and is coming back again. Here we go. All right. Katie, was there anything you'd like to add? I know you've already given us some great marketing tips.
Technology, hang on.
He's coming back. I really focused on my video marketing this time, which is I didn't have time to do it last show, and I really found that copied the National with what they did, which was character trailers. So rather than thinking, oh, you can't do a trailer until you've actually got footage from a preview, there's loads of kind of trailers that you can do before you actually do the show. And if you look at the National YouTube, they have all their characters, like the characters just doing a piece to camera straight down the barrel which is a brilliant way to get to know your show, because it's your character. And I did one of those. I also did a concept trailer, which was kind of like because mine was about parallel lives, and so it's what's the concept in a trailer. And then when I got to Adelaide Fringe, they said, oh Katie, I would people want to see what the show is. So even if you've only done one preview, or if you haven't done a preview, film some of your rehearsals, so at least they can sort of see what they're buying, because people buy people, which is why you're always have a professional photographer and a professional poster done, because that people are buying you, basically. They want to know who you are. And so I would then edit that, just, tiny, even just movement. It doesn't have to be the audio. It can be, you moving, but to music, just with some, last year's quotes coming on, because you can't have quotes because you haven't press reviews, because you haven't got any press in, because you haven't done a show yet. But just sort of chucking all these things, sort of all this social proof and making sure it's within the first few seconds, you've got brilliant, fantastic, loved it. And if you haven't got any reviews, that can be from your mates who came in to see a rehearsal. I remember seeing some 5-star shows in Adelaide Fringe, and actually when you got right up close to it, it was 5-star, 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 but it was all audience members. And you're like, oh, well, it's done the job, because I just thought there was a 5-star show, and it's only me gone, my goodness, that's a lot of 5 stars, as the artist going, what are they doing there? How have they got all that press in? So that would be the character trailer. And then I didn't know anything about Meta, and I didn't know how to set up, and I just thought, I'm just chucking money at it. So I actually got an agency, a social media agency, who, something like 250 quid to set it all up for me. So it was all done properly. And then they sort of started it for me. And I came down to Brighton, and I was nearly sold out in 100-seater on my first show. And I know that was a lot of it due to the social media campaigns that they'd been running for me. And they said, my God, we've never seen a click-through rate it was like 13 or 14, something like click-through rate. I think that's what they said. There's certainly the number, but I think it's the click-through rate. But they said they'd never seen anything like it. And that was the character trailers. And I thought, that's really interesting. That got way more than the professional concept, sort of high-end trailer. And the other thing was Vox Pops. So the other thing that did really well as an ad and selling tickets for me was Vox Pops. So I got one of those Rode mics, which you just clip onto yourself and put onto your phone. And you don't need it necessarily, but it's ideal if you can. But obviously test it before, because I did a beautiful one and then it didn't work. But if someone comes up to you after the show and says, "Oh my God, I absolutely loved it," just say, "Do you mind if I just quickly do a vox pop with you?" And I would just say, "What did you think of Endgame? Who is your favourite character? And what's 3 words you'd use to describe Endgame?" And they would just give me this, and it was sometimes 30 seconds, if that. But I would then, at the end of the night, I'd edit all those together, and it wasn't brilliant editing. I'm not an editor. I was doing it on Instagram, and I'd chuck it up online. And then the next day, people that was doing really well. And then my social media marketing agency then took that and used that as a trailer. That was doing better than the actual high concept expensive trailer, because people are believing them because they've got no skin in the game. They're audience members. They're not anything to do with my show, so they're trusting them, because trust factor is so far down in marketing these days, because all these scammers online, all these weird things on YouTube. No one trusts anything really. So we've got to work harder in our marketing to be authentic and trustworthy. So actually other people saying, "Oh my God, it's amazing, come and see it. I laughed, I cried, all the feels." You're like, okay, I trust that, So that would be my top tip with the trailers. And then sort of flyers, QR poster you described, having like a QR on your actual poster is really helpful, because then people can walk past it outside your venue and like, oh, great. And then it's just making it easy for them to click. Yeah. The other thing I saw, which is really clever, I saw Elf Lyons putting a QR code on her Instagram to her mailing list. And so people can, find out about your early things. I thought that was really smart. I tried to do it, then I got freaked out about how do you set up a mailing list. But that was because I was a bit overwhelmed. Anyway, and so and then the other thing is networking and marketing through you guys, Brighton Fringe. I mean, my goodness, you actually introduced me to incredible people when I came round and was like, "Hi, I'm tired. I've been flying a lot." And they're like, "Yeah, but have you been to the meetup and have you met blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, "No." "Oh my gosh, I should go." So yeah, you introduced me to loads of brilliant people. So that's kind of marketing you as an artist and the show about what's going to happen afterwards. Where do you want the show to go? Because there are people looking for you, looking to pick up your show. Yeah. So yes, and the final thing is just enjoy the journey.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful place to end, actually. Yeah, I'd love for everyone to enjoy the journey. And I would love for everybody to remember that our actual jobs are here all year round to support artists, not just in May, but right throughout the year. We are here, and we are here to help you and advise you with anything that might feel overwhelming, or if you feel like you just don't know where to start with something, or you've got a bit of a question but you don't even really know what you're trying to ask. Then that's exactly what we're here for. So please do feel free that you can always get in touch with us. You can drop us an email at takepart@brightonfringe.org, or we've got loads and loads and loads of resources on the website live for 2026 now as well, along with all the other Fringe Academies that we've talked about as well. I'm going to draw the session to a close because we've overrun a little bit, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to each of you for sharing all of your fantastic experience and knowledge with us, and just being so generally lovely. So thank you to Katie Reddin-Clancy of Endgame, and Darryl Carrington of Out of the Box, and Aiden Bex of your many shows. Which one should I say? Brandy Bex.
The Bex Factor, that might come back next year. The Bex Factor, yeah.
And I hope that we will see you all at Brighton Fringe 2026. If anybody has any questions for us, please do email us or give us a call, and we would love to welcome you to Brighton in May. So thank you all for taking part, and we hope to see you really soon.
Fabulous, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye.